We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
They changed the name of the high school and all James was can say is, ooh, I'll be second day. 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 When a ball went turned into a vampire, all James was can say was, ooh, I'll be second day. 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 When he became Peter's best friend, they sat around the house and said, ooh, I'll be second day. 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 And you know that James Woods practices lines real well, but everything that he reads becomes real hard to spell. Everyone tries to help him, but the words just won't come out. There's only one thing he can think of, and it's what comes out his mouth. Ooh, I'll be second day. 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 When he comes out of his house, the women scream and shout. Ooh, I'll be second day. 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 When they know that he's an actor, the best of them always says, ooh, I'll be second day. 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 Reese's Pieces on the floor and watch him come a saying, ooh, I'll be second day. 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 And you know that James Woods practices lines real well, but everything that he reads becomes real hard to spell. Everyone tries to help him, but the words just won't come out. There's only one thing he can think of, and it's what comes out his mouth. Ooh, I'll be second day. 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 When he comes out of his house, the women scream and shout. Ooh, I'll be second day. 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 Ooh, I'll be second day.
Fucking thing sucks.
Greetings and salutations. It's I, Letterman. I ripped the letter from my sweater. I turned one word into another. Nobody remembers that. Only older people from the electric company days. Yes, indeed. Sorry to old you out there, folks. Let's see who's here. We got Bella's here. Good to see you, Bella. The devil's therapist, as I like to call our old marriage counselor. It's good to see you again there, Bob. Hope everything's good with the kids. Global, good to see you as well. We got Chuck's Intergalactic UFO Show. High in orbit in more ways than one. We got Max Sarge here as well. And, of course, Miguel up the top there. Good to see everybody. Folks, let me get them in here. We got our buddy Kevin from Black Bear News. He's here with us, hanging out, talking about things going on in his life over there in L.A. with all this craziness. What's going on, my friend?
Hey, not much. Just hanging out. There's actually a new fire, so I'm watching this other fire.
Yes,
That's what's happening.
it's the Hughes fire. Is that the new one, or is there a new one besides that?
Yeah, it's the Hughes fire, which is near Castaic Lake, off of Lake Hughes Road, which is where my sister used to live up there long ago. But it's actually close to where my daughter lives, so I'm a little bit nervous about that.
Yeah, there's
she's near Santa Clarita, which is just below that evacuation zone. So they're already kind of packing up. And,
yeah, so this is the one all the way up north here. This is the one you were in. This is the, if I can get this damn thing to move.
I know that Zoom is really fast.
Yeah, it's too fast. Too fast for me.
Yeah, too much Zoom.
These damn Zooms. Yeah, so this is the up in Altadena, right? So this is the Eaton fire. And it says, this is according to the Genesis Protect, whatever this is. So this last update says that it's at 91% containment. So that's good. So almost out. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say I was up there a couple days ago. And it doesn't really look like there's much fire going on. I don't know. Palisades fire is a little less contained, I think.
Yeah, let me see what it says here. So Palisades is 68%. Yeah. And it was only at 56% back on Monday, I think. Something like that. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, so that's Palisades. That's the big daddy. That's I think 23,448 acres it's affected. And then this one up here is the new one in Hughes. Let's see what the they don't have containment figures on it yet, because I guess it's because it's pretty new.
It's 0.
Yeah, so already 5,000 acres there. So so yeah, you were in the Eaton fire, right? And you want to tell people your story, what you told people on your show?
Yeah, well, I did a little, video, excuse me, short on YouTube, like the day of the fire, on Tuesday, I guess that was the 7th. Just talking about the winds, how crazy they were. They were very, very high, very strong winds, and like nothing I've ever seen before. And I've lived in the area, that area pretty much my whole life, but just amazing amounts of like already just, transformers being blown and power out, and like it was just blowing everything around. And so that evening I was like eating some pizza, hanging out with my daughter, like playing some cards, and we were just hanging out, and her friend was texted her and said, we're leaving our house. And I was like, why are you leaving your house? What's happening? Oh, there's a fire, close by. And all of a sudden I was getting texts from a bunch of people saying like, are you okay? I was like, sure, I'm fine. And then, we went out, looked out the front window, and there's just this huge like wall of flames on the mountain. And, it was with the wind blowing at like 80 miles an hour, it was like pretty nuts. But I would, honestly, I've been through fires, and there's been several fires over my lifetime up in the area. And what just generally seemed to happen is they would never go past the line with like the house line. Like there's kind of a canyon before you get up into the mountains. And there's kind of a little natural break there, but like, just once they hit the house line, they generally tend to stop, it's at least within a few houses, but like in my mind, I was like, there's no way it's getting down to where the houses are. And we're about where my house is maybe, I want to say about a mile from the house line, from the edge of the mountains to where the houses start. So I was like, it's got a long way to get down here, like a really long way to get down here,
Right.
So in my mind, I was just like, it's never getting down here, like no way. And so, anyways, like my daughter went to her mom's house, and like some of my neighbors were packing up and leaving, and I was just kind of like, I don't really think it's that big of a deal. But like I went to sleep and the winds were still howling, and then like I woke up at like 3 in the morning, and I could smell the smoke. It was like in the house. And then like right when I woke up, I heard the sheriff say like, it's time to go, and then I got the alert on my phone, evacuation orders. And then when I opened the front door, it was like just a wall of smoke. And I was like, oh shit, okay, okay, let's go. So like I got my pants on and like got the pets in the car, and I grabbed my computer and just, I don't know, just a few random things. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go down to my fiance's house and I'll come back. I just figured like there's a lot of smoke. I'll just get out of the smoke. We'll get everybody, packed out and down the mountain. And then like, I'll come back and get my stuff, in a couple hours, or this morning, I'll come back and get my stuff. And so that morning, we were watching the news, and this guy is standing on a street that's like way south of my house, and all the houses are on fire. And I was like, oh, dang, like, oh, that is not good. And I was like, let's go now. So we jumped in the car and we raced up there, and like everything was on fire, and my whole neighborhood was on fire. And, the cops and the fire people couldn't really keep people out. They just were outmanned. And there was just too much going on. It was just all, and there were like power lines down in the street. So it was just like travel at your own risk kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
So, originally we were going to walk in, but then even walking in was kind of, there was a certain element of danger to it. So we were like, let's just get in the car and see if, we saw other people driving around kind of a few blocks above us. And so we got in the car and we found, I actually, my typical route to get home, that whole street was open, and we went down the street, and I was like, okay, here's my street. And we're driving down the street. But as we're driving, like everything is on fire. Like all the houses are pretty much gone. Like there's a few houses standing, but most of the houses are gone. And as we were turning the corner on my street, like there was nothing there. And I was like, oh my God, like,
yeah,
I was like, oh no, this is not happening. This is not real.
Yeah. It doesn't
like,
it doesn't feel real, right? Like you and I were talking before, when some of my people down south, when Katrina hit, right? They'd seen monster storms before, right? But there's a lot of them just hunkered down and just said, well, it's okay. This is just going to be another one of those storms. And a lot of the OGs who had lived through a lot of those storms said they were never going to stay for another storm ever again after Katrina, after the craziness that happened there. And I think about that with those fires out there, because right now it's like fires is like an every year thing, right? And it seemed like, it seems like it burns a hell of a lot of acreage every year, but now it just seems like the magnifying glass is put on it now because it's so close to LA, right? Once it, if it's up in, Northern California, oh, that's terrible, it's tragic. But you start getting towards the city like that, that's like, whoa. Because they were talking about, $250 to $275 billion in damage alone, just the property damage, not to count what people, like you and other people who had gone through, so you see everything is gone though, when you get back through there. So, but you had a place to go, you had some contingencies, right?
Yeah. In my neighborhood was very mixed, very diverse, like, and there's a lot of people talking about Altadena being very, very different from the Palisades, of course, right? There's more working class. I grew up in the area. I went to school right down the street from where I lived. my high school was there, and you know, historically, Altadena is like a, you know, black neighborhood and a very working class neighborhood. When I was growing up, it was even, you know, more poor. You know, in the last, I'd say 20 years, it's been kind of gentrified. Like, you have a lot of people buying up the houses up there and like driving up the property values, which helps the natives there, right? Like the people that have been there forever. You know, but you know, there have been there were quite a few families up there that had been there for generations and had held onto their houses through the kind of the changeover, the you know, as the house prices were being driven up. They were like, no, you know, this is where we live. So yeah, my street that I lived on was very, very mixed. You know, a few newer people, like you know, I grew up there, but I would count us as kind of like a newer, you know, one of the newer, I guess, insurgents in the neighborhood, because we, you know, we were only there in that house for, I think it was like 10 or 12 years. There are people there that have been there for decades. So, you know, definitely since the 60s and 70s. But so yeah, you know, people up there were burned out of everything. You know, they lost, you know, everything they had. They probably didn't have a lot of resources. When we were, there was like a couple days after we went to go, there was like a disaster aid kind of thing at the convention center in Pasadena, and we went over there. They were handing out like debit cards for like food and like whatever, you know, necessities, and like FEMA was there, and like there were just a bunch of different entities there just giving out, you know, whatever food, and they had a shelter there. Anyways, yeah, we were standing in line with people that were just like, I don't have anything. Like, I have nothing. I don't have a place to stay. Like, I don't have, you know, I'm staying in my car, or you know, and I saw there's quite a few people on Instagram that started popping up saying like, you know, we lived in the area, we got burned down, and we don't, you know, we're staying at a Airbnb that FEMA gave us, or a hotel, or whatever. Like, you know, there were a lot of people that literally had, you know, I don't really have anything. I mean, I have a place to stay, which is great, but like, I don't have, you know,
Right.
everything else is gone. So,
Wait.
and I have my car. So,
Yeah, it's like just getting the tablecloth just yanked out from under you, right up the same, and it's just like, you know, it's really hard to prepare for something like that. And now it's this, what's happening now is, I think, is probably going to give a lot of people pause. One thing, from moving to California in the first place. And second, if they do live here, or if they've already been here for all these years, like you said, you know, decades, they're going to have to rethink, you know, some of the ways of trying to protect their property if these fires are going to persist like that. Right. I mean, or move. I mean, that's the only thing you can do, right? I mean, what can they do to protect their properties out there?
That's a really good question. Like, it doesn't seem, I don't know. I feel like this is I feel like things are getting more extreme as far as weather events or fire events or flood events.
Yeah.
Obviously it's happening. Clearly it's happening, right? Like, so the hurricanes are getting stronger, and the atmospheric rivers are getting stronger, or whatever it is. And like the winds that were happening that night were just insane, like out of control. Like,
Yeah.
I have never experienced anything like that in my life. So like, sure, I'm sure you can talk about, Edison didn't do the right thing as far as de-energizing the power lines, or people can talk about other theories, arson or whatever. But the main element was freaking the winds were insane.
Yeah.
And, it just took a spark to get that going. And like, once it was going, it was like whoosh, like straight down the mountain. It was like,
yeah,
it was nuts.
Fanning the flames like that. They were gusting up to, at one point they said they were gusting up to 100 miles an hour. and you're making like those familiar fire tornadoes that you'd see up north at those fires up there. There were some of those there too. Yeah, that you and how do you stop the wind? You don't stop the wind, so you're going to have to think outside the box if you want to protect these places, or maybe build with materials that are fire resistant, but then, you watch out for fiberglass kind of, poison stuff that you don't want that in your home. So there's that whole conversation,
Right.
Right.
Like everybody who's rebuilding, like I'm seeing interesting, I actually just saw I posted something on my Instagram about they're showing like a structure that survived the fire, and it looked like it was almost like it was structure for people, but it was almost like a giant kiln, like a dome.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it was like clay or adobe is what it was. It was adobe,
right?
So it was called super adobe. So yeah, like people that rebuild, like are they gonna build with adobe? Are they gonna build brick? Are they gonna build cement? Right? Like all these things can stop a fire from burning your house down, right? Like you're gonna have to rethink your whole like structure.
Right.
That's if everybody is allowed to come back and build as they like on their plots of land. Like they're talking about changing the zoning.
Mm-hmm.
In the middle of all this, right, to allow for more apartments to be built. They're talking about developers coming in and trying to buy people out. And like, even if you do have the money and the insurance and all that to rebuild, like you're talking about rebuilding in the middle of like kind of a wasteland. It's not going to be really desirable. Even the houses that are still standing there, like, how do you go back and live there? You're living like in this just burned out, blown down wasteland. Like there's nothing there. Like that's got to be daunting, like for some of those people, right? I don't know.
Well, yeah, like I said, comparing it to what happened in Katrina, right? Well, along the Mississippi Gulf Coast, you had all these old antebellum homes that had been around since like the Civil War, right? And had survived all of these hurricanes, even Hurricane Camille, who was the granddaddy of them all up in 69 up until that point, right? And but then once Katrina came along, all those houses, it was like somebody taking big arms and just raked in poker chips and just pulled it into the Gulf of Mexico or Gulf of America if you're one of those people. I'm not. I still call it Mexico. I'm OG when it comes to my maps.
I need to be Gulf of Mexico forever. Like, no, hell no. I don't know.
That's right. GOM, baby. GOM. But yeah, and it just pulled these houses like poker chips, and you couldn't recognize anything. And I'm thinking to myself, how do people come back to this? Right, where there's just literal, just flat slabs that used to be their houses and nothing around it that looked familiar. And I grew up down there. I lived down there for 30 years. I go see what happens after Katrina. I'm like, I can't find anything. Couldn't find anything. It was a crazy.
Well, and a lot of people did move back. Like I kind of around that time was when I started touring, like full time, being like a full time touring musician, and. So listen, my first time playing in New Orleans was, it was like 4 days before Katrina hit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we slid on through, we played this spot. I was playing with I used to be in a duo and with a, percussion player, like vocalist. And so we slid on through and we were like playing the spot and we left and we were on our way to, I don't know, South Carolina or somewhere. And as we're driving there, we made a couple stops on the way, but as we're driving there, Katrina hit and we were like, oh my God, we were just there. Like, and as it unfolded, like in the years after Katrina, I met so many people who were New Orleans transplants. They left and they never went back. They went to Houston. They went to all over the place. Tupelo. They went to Florida. They went to wherever. Mobile, even Baton Rouge. They never went back.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that are never going to go back to Altadena, and that's,
Right.
unfortunate but true. It's just going to change the dynamic of the entire area. And I've been back to New Orleans since they've rebuilt, and it's definitely, there is some of the, a lot of the same elements, but definitely much more like, white development. You can see the gentrification kind of thing happen. It's so glaringly obvious.
That's usually what happens too. Yeah.
There's a lot of development money, bro. Like, we're coming in, we're, rebuilding, we're rehabbing all these old houses or these old streets, and we're just, making it like kind of a more of a wealthy, play date kind of place, right? Like, it's just not the same.
That's what they did with Times Square in New York. They made it they took out all the peep shows and stuff like that. They made it family friendly and stuff like that. And you're like,
yeah,
I don't want my Times Square family friendly. Why did you do that?
No, I want it dirty and weird and fucking, yeah. Like,
why the hell you think I'm going to New York? What the hell's wrong with you people putting a Disney park right there in the middle of the city, you jackasses? No, yeah, it is. It just changes the whole dynamic. And that's the thing, man. It's like, when you see those people with the tinfoil hat saying, hey, man, you got to wonder why all this property got wiped out, and somebody's just going to come in and scoop it up on the cheap. And then, how that song and dance goes.
Yeah, actually, I have something from, hold on one second. So there was a very famous kind of hippie enclave right up the road from my house. And it was it's like kind of a legendary Pasadena kind of place. It was called Zorthian Ranch. And they had like shows up there, and they had like artist workshops up there. And back in the day, like in the 70s and 80s, it was very hippie, right? It was like, everything is like, handmade, artisan, like, it's just whatever. It was anyways, let me see if I can find it. Somebody from Zorthian Ranch had written something about this like 15-minute city plan not long before the fire happened. And I don't know if I can even find it. Hold on. I got it here somewhere. I know I do. Oh, here we go.
Just drop it in our DM there, our Twitter thing, and I'll pop it up on my end.
Alan. So it's Alan Zorthian from Zorthian's Ranch. I'm gonna.
I've got the Zorthian Ranch website up. Is that what you're talking about?
No, it's a Facebook page. It's like a Facebook post, and I'll read it really quick if that's okay.
Sure.
I'll read some of it. It's not too long. It says the West San Gabriel Valley Area Plan is a threat to all of Altadena. It seeks to devalue and disenfranchise large landowners in the foothills through a radical downsizing of their land, making it difficult to realize any income or profit from their land whatsoever. It conversely will upzone many areas of Altadena and other affected communities such that there will be a radical change in the density, scale, and overall characteristics of these affected communities. This means the same sort of high-density mixed-use apartment construction that has been increasingly occurring all across the greater Los Angeles area is now coming to Altadena. That may be appropriate in maybe one area at North Lake, but otherwise it will be in other locations that will completely alter the suburban feel and character of Altadena, all part of the 15-minute city that is part of UN Agenda 2030, own nothing and be happy type of thing. They want us all off the land, out of single-family residences, where there is at least some property where they can produce our own food. Listen, and Altadena is an unincorporated area of Los Angeles where there were a lot of like backyard farmers. It was a big deal there. It was like people raised chickens and grew their own food and vegetables. And, it was a thing. Hold on. anyways, they don't want us producing our own food, being independent, and they want to change it into mixed use behemoth apartments where they can walk to stores and not drive. These apartments are highly unaffordable for many. Nonprofit conservancy groups are supporting this plan, citing the need to protect endangered species. Probably these conservancy groups support the 15-minute city concept as well, but they are not advertising that. In the past, the County of Los Angeles Department of Regional Planning had used radical downsizing, mendaciously citing environmental concerns, and then once they eliminated the troublesome landowners, turned around and opened those tracts of land through various machinations for development. So you have a situation where you have an environmental group who ostensibly support downzoning to protect endangered species, but what they're actually doing is opening it up to development later.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that's the gist of it.
Yeah.
And this was Alan Zorthian, whose property was burned down to the ground. So,
I mean, you can't rule it out, right? I mean, you know, we always know fuckery's afoot when it comes to this kind of stuff. And, you know, there's always going to be somebody who takes advantage of this kind of situation. You know, I mean, how do you think this compares to what happened in Hawaii? Do you think there's similarities there?
Sure. I mean, it seemed like Lahaina was filled with, you know, people that were there for a long time, you know, that might have been holding on to these very valuable pieces of property, and maybe they just wanted them out. They wanted them to go.
Yeah.
Or, you know, try to get most of them to go. I mean, it definitely, when you have something like this happen, you know, like we were just saying, like you push everybody off and then just see who has the tenacity to come back, right? And a lot of people don't have the tenacity to come back.
Yeah.
The wherewithal or the funding or the resources or whatever.
I gotta think, if you've been out there for decades like that, it'd be really hard to let go of that. And if you had the means to do it, I would probably try and rebuild, because I mean, that kind of familiarity with a place like that is really, the longer you're there, the harder it is to let go, right? You know, if you're fairly new, it still sucks that you lost your shit, but at least you didn't lose decades and decades and decades of that kind of stuff. I don't know, man. I think it may be just like a push to get people out of those areas for whatever, you know, some sort of real estate reason. I'm always just skeptical, that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm not saying it was intentionally set. I'm just saying maybe that the powers that be are always using these kind of things, you know, trying to take advantage of them, that sort of thing. So,
well, it's interesting though too. Didn't they find the power company in Lahaina at fault too?
Right. Wasn't it Con Ed or something? Or,
yeah. And you know, PG&E and the Paradise Fires, and like, so it's kind of like you have this, kind of have like an easy scapegoat, an easy fall guy in the power company, and then they pay a fine. They're like, don't do that. You're bad. You know, kind of like a private partnership, private-public partnership kind of thing, right? Where they're, you know, oh, oops, oh, darn.
See, now
you're next time, you know, sorry, but
see,
the damage is done. You know,
you're making me feel like Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny, you know, with his, you know, Pepe, like with it and the strings going everywhere on the board. See, it's all connected, man. It's all connected. I mean,
but.
It's not unprecedented, though. I mean, because look at all the fuckery that's been going on with the water and shit for decades and decades, right? And that kind of played a role in this too, is sort of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there were, you know, it's like a part of me wants to be very skeptical of the conspiracy theories, but then, you know, when you see things lining up, you know, the coincidences lining up so often, you're just kind of like, well.
There can't be that many coincidences, right? Come on. I mean, it's just like you said, they're just lining up, and the shit's just way too many of those things, right?
And like I said, you had, you know, black homeowners that have been there for years, right? Holding on to their pieces of property. And the you know, the value's going up, and they're refinancing their homes, and but staying put, you know, and, you know, don't get me wrong. There were a lot of, you know, new money kind of wealthy homeowners there, people who paid, you know, $500,000 or, you know, $750,000 for a little bungalow to live
Mm-hmm.
on my street. You know, it was like, wow, whoa, that's a lot of money. But like, you know, imagine the salivation of the developers, you know, of all those other So, when my dad was alive, like we lived at that same address. I was taking care of my dad there before he passed away. But like, he said somebody walked up to the door and offered him 800 grand cash for the house. And I'm like, I'm thinking about all the other people on the street who had been there for decades and decades, resisting these wild offers. Yeah, $1 million, $1.2 million, whatever. And like, they're like, no, no, we're not leaving. We are not leaving. And now they're gone. Right. So.
Yeah. That's almost some mafia shit right there. I mean, I know it isn't, but I mean, it sure smells like it. You know, I'm not here. We're gonna do like $1.2 million. We'll give you $1.2 million for the house, right? You know, it's very dry weather around here. You know, and you know, Louis smokes.
Something to happen.
Louis smokes back there, you know, we're trying to get him to quit, you know, because of his lungs. But hey, you know, accidents happen. You know what I'm saying?
You know, sometimes he takes a nap.
He gets, you know, he gets sleepy. He tends to get a little sleepy. He probably shouldn't do that with the, you know, the camel in his fingers. But whatever, you know, we don't judge. You know, he's a good driver. Anyway, but yeah, so it's like, you know, it's like, yeah, you're gonna move. Here comes a natural disaster, you know, and what do? It's like, you know, like I said, you're gonna have to, like, if they do rebuild, they're gonna have to rethink like the materials that they use, and maybe they might want to set up some sort of perimeter, like aquifer or something. I don't know, that something like a break for your house.
Yeah.
I mean, is that the new thing? It's like a whole city planning thing that they're gonna have to redo.
Well, you know, like I said, there was kind of a, actually in Eaton Canyon, which is what the Eaton fire is named for, there's this kind of a natural break line there, you know, where you would have the fire coming down the mountain, but it would have to kind of like go down into this little gully, and there's half the year there's water running through there. Or supposed to be water running through there, and would have to like go through this little gully, across the river, it was a little break line for the fires. And that's what, you know, a lot of time kept the fires from coming down the mountain. And then, you know, if they made it to the house line, you know, it would generally would just stop there. But like, you know, yeah, maybe they set up a little more area between the mountain and the house line. I don't know.
They're going to have to do something. I mean, if these things are going to be a regular occurrence like that, because that's just ridiculous to keep rebuilding and having it burned down practically every year like that. So,
well, and you know, the other reality is that like nowhere is safe from like extreme weather phenomena. Like,
that's true.
You think you're, you know, I'm kicking myself for sticking my finger in the socket of you know, poking the eye of the gods, because 2 days, you know, earlier I was talking about the polar vortex that was going to hit the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, we're in this like little safe zone. Like, I was going on and on about how like nothing really hits Southern California. We're not, you know, we're kind of like extreme weather resistant. Nothing really happens here. And like literally 2 days later, this goes down, and I was like, shit. Like, I had to go and open my big mouth. Like, nowhere is safe. Like, nowhere is safe. You think you're safe from something, from floods or hurricanes or whatever it is, or tornadoes. Like, nowhere is safe now. And I don't know, you know, I don't know what people do with that information. Like, where do you go? Like, people that are like, oh, I'm going to move here for climate change, or I'm going to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if if they really love where they live, though, they're going to adapt. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you're going to
Exactly.
see new different kinds of houses and stuff like that that are like probably wind resistant and that sort of thing. I mean, like with the fires and stuff out there. You like you say, when you left, you thought, okay, that the fire's not going to get down here because it never comes down this way. So now these
Nope.
fires are reaching unprecedented areas, and people around there, I'm sure, are just like, whether they lost a home or not, are thinking, is this the new normal now? Is this we're going to be seeing this every year like you see up in Northern California, but like you said, good, but
That's the reality.
yeah, it's the reality, especially if these, like you said, I remember the Santa Ana winds out there. At most, they'd knock over some empty garbage cans, right? It'd be
Yeah.
that kind of gust. You're like, whoa, whoa, what's going on here? Hey, let's get the kite out. And now it's like,
Right.
holy shit, it's a fucking tornado coming through here.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's like that's not right. Yeah, exactly.
It's a totally different like thing now. And yeah, I mean, even with the Palisades, like I think we actually had Topanga Canyon got burned out like 2 years ago,
Yeah.
which is just over, just over from the Palisades area. But now, yeah, now it's going to be a thing that happens like every single year, and you're just like, am I? You're on the roulette wheel of like, is it your turn to get like, have everything destroyed?
Mm-hmm.
And well, it's funny too. You were saying adapt, like, I don't know, about 5 or 6 years ago, I was like actively, maybe longer than that, actively looking for a place to move that would be somewhat sheltered from climate change. But one article I read actually had the advice of just stay where you're at and figure it out, because you're not going to like escape something like so if you live in the desert, or if you live in the mountains, or if you live wherever you're at, you're going to be very more familiar with your surroundings and your geography, and you're going to be better able to just adapt to you're going to know your surroundings, and you're going to be able to adapt to things that come along. So I mean, I think that's probably the wisest advice, is like, you're not going to escape it. You're just going to have to figure out how to survive it when it happens.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to come up with some creative out of the box thinking, turn weaknesses into strengths.
Right.
It's the same kind of mentality that they use for building spaceships, or when they want to take humans across the cosmos, right? They have to think about every little detail and stuff like that. Now we're going to have to think about that for our homes.
Yeah.
With increasing temperatures, how do you use increasing temperatures to your advantage? Is there some sort of scientific thing that where you can have something that's so hot that you can convert it into energy? It's going to have to be stuff like that, where you're going to have to take these, these major climate changes that are happening, and literally adapt. Or what are you going to do? You just, like you said, there's nowhere to go. Because you go anywhere else, that place is adapting to climate change too. There's no one spot on the planet that's just all cozy and cool.
So perfect, right?
We can all hang out there, and then ride out the apocalypse. I wish.
Right.
What was that? What was that old movie where they're? I think it's from the 50s or something, and it's about like how the rest of the world is like messed up from nuclear war or something, and everybody's gone to Australia.
Oh,
Because
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
it's the last bastion, yeah, before the funk cloud gets there. But really, all they're doing is they're just delaying the inevitable, right? Because even there is in the movie, they said that place was going to get too. So yeah, exactly. Stay where you're at, because your surroundings, particularly if you've been there long enough, and then just adapt, right? But we're Gen Xer people. We've learned that's all our lives. That's all we've done is just adapt, because new things have been coming along in our generation so much that we've been adapting, right? That's why we could do analog and digital, and we're kind of ambidextrous like that.
Exactly. Yeah,
Right.
you're going to see. I think you'll see the rise in like underground homes or
Yeah.
partially underground homes, like, and it makes a lot of sense because if it's warming outside, like your best chance of like withstanding the extreme temperatures swings is to be
Yeah.
underground or built into the earth. I also saw this some guy years ago was predicting the future of living on earth, and he was saying that there are going to be these insane winds, 200-mile-an-hour winds, right? So everybody's going to live underground, or at least have shelters underground, because these winds are just going to knock over anything that you can build.
Right.
You it's just not even worth building like above ground or your typical structure. So, and I think that's probably going to be the future, and I hope people get really like innovative and create. People that do rebuild in this area, in these areas, like I hope they get innovative and get creative and actually like use these ideas instead of like, oh, got a bunch of lumber, put the house back up, like don't do that. Like don't just like build the same structure you had before, right?
Yeah. You're gonna have to you're gonna have to evolve in your construction thinking too, like
Yeah.
yeah, because Miguel made a good point here. So underground is not safe from flooding. I mean, not in a lot of places, yeah. So you have to worry about like where the water is going to be coming in and stuff like that. I remember, what was it, last year or so? I think Marcus over there at the Political Matrix, he was talking about these old missile silos in Kansas that apparently they sold off to some
Yeah.
to private, and they're transforming those into like apartments, kind of
Bunkers.
pricey,
Right.
but still that idea of building underground, especially if you already have the infrastructure with like some of these missile silos and stuff, because they had to think about those when they were building the silos initially, about strategically if water and stuff could get in there and that sort of thing. So they had that's
Yeah.
already been taken care of, and that's
Yeah.
like, we may be moving into missile
That's in the
silos.
blueprint.
Yeah,
That's in the design. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. The way, where my house was situated, like we had really good like water flow. Like we had some really heavy rains, and like we never, at least my property, like never had any issues with like, flooding issues. But there's actually I was reading a story from the Ministry of the Future. I think I read it on my channel, but it's interesting because there was a great flood like in Los Angeles when a big portion of Los Angeles got flooded out. And there's a story in the Ministry for the Future about the Los Angeles basin getting like flooded out, this major flood. It was like a climate change catastrophe. And I was thinking about that story when this was happening. And I was thinking like, it's not flood, it's just fire, right? Like, the whole of LA could just like catch on fire, given the right wind conditions. You can get a good portion of the city like burned out. I mean, there was a sunset fire there for a second. It was like Hollywood was evacuating, right? Like people
yeah.
were in the streets like, I'm out of here, like, because it was coming down the mountain. Like,
I used to work around that area. I worked over there, Sunset and Vine. Yeah, they said they had it from Hollywood Boulevard all the way over to the 101, and then up to Mulholland Drive, I think. And I can't remember the other. But yeah, I was like, holy shit! Because when I worked in Hollywood at that Borders Books there was a fire that was coming up over the north side of the hills, and we were like, oh shit, it may actually come this way. Fortunately, it didn't, but yeah. And then I saw Sunset Fire for this one. I was like, oh shit, it's gonna get it eventually. It's just a matter of time.
yeah, I mean, I think that's the lesson in this experience, is that you're not, it is just you know, not the day or the hour, right? Like you're just going to have to accept that you're going to be in that situation. And, you know, maybe your house will burn down, maybe it won't, but like you're going to face that kind of eventuality, you know, and so you're going to have to like, deal, you know, you're going to have to prepare, you're going to have to adapt to it. You're going to have to, I mean, where I'm staying is on the coast, which is, you know, maybe safer from the fire, but like, you know, who knows what's, you know, we have like high tide events all the time, right? Now king tides are a thing, right? There's Balboa Island, like now gets regular king tides, right? Where the tide comes up and like the street is under like a foot of water, you know? And so, you know, there eventually there's going to just be like you know, constant like high tide situations if you live close to the coast. And you know, we've been getting more king tides. Ventura's been getting some of those king tides. So it's like wherever you're at, you're gonna face some kind of calamity sooner or later. So like, I don't know, have a go bag.
Yeah,
have a go bag ready. Figure it out.
We sound like the old guys when we were kids, man. They would say, "Make sure you have like you never know when you know." It's like that movie Heat. You never know when you got to get out of a situation within 90 seconds. You know, is have your shit ready to go. But yeah, I mean, if you live near the coasts now, especially in those areas, you know, you got your earthquakes you got to worry about, the fires. And hell, y'all had was it last year before last? Y'all had a hurricane down there too. I was like,
right.
What the hell? I said, well, y'all stealing, like, that's a Gulf Coast thing. Why are you stealing our shit, man? But yeah, they never have hurricanes down there.
Yeah, it never happens.
Yeah.
And like, so now that we had one and it was kind of like it petered out and it was kind of like a false alarm and everybody was like, ha ha ha, hurricane, you know, big deal. But one, you know, there's going to be another one and everybody's going to be like, yeah, hurricane, ha ha, you know, and it's just going to be like, wham, take that. You know, like actually that hurricane, we went out, we were camping. We went to Arizona and we were camping in Sedona. And that same weather system like came over Arizona. And it rained like crazy that night. Like and the tent I was in completely flooded out. Like,
oh Jesus.
I was on an air mattress and it was like floating on like a lake of water inside the tent. And like it was raining like madness, and I was like, "Oh shit, are we gonna get like flooded out down here in this little canyon where we're camping at?" And like I was freaking out a little bit, but that was the same weather system that hit LA or didn't hit LA, but like it was massive enough, you know.
Well, I mean, LA is crazy enough. We've talked about this. I told you one. I was there one January. And it was like the wettest January on record, right? They'd just gotten the most rain they'd ever gotten in California that January. And then, hey, Denver, good to see you, buddy, over there on the Rockfin. We got a couple of people on Rockfin over there. What's up, y'all? Yeah, and then the very next year, that January, it was the driest January on record. Right. I was like, what the fuck kind of weather is this out here? And now, yeah, those Santa Ana winds, and then now they're starting to churn up with the extra power below it, you know?
Right.
Oh, man. But, you know, when I lived in New York, when Sandy hit, that wasn't technically a hurricane, but it was just kind of like a perfect storm of different systems that came together. It acted like a hurricane because it even had like storm surge too, and that's what flooded out southern Manhattan there. But that was the thing. It's like that New York, they never get hurricanes or any kind of crazy. They get nor'easters, but it's usually like snow and a lot of wind. This is a fucking hurricane kind of thing coming in. So
But New York gets like now regularly, like the subways get flooded out, right? Like that's a regular thing now.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to. It could be just like a hard rain now, and
right.
Yeah, and it's just, oh my God, dude! It's you'd be standing on the platform, and there'll be just like this waterfall right in front of you, man. It's like going to Narnia down there in those subway tunnels. Only it's Dollar Tree Narnia, and it's everything's crap. Everything's broken. Yeah, it's yeah, they're not ready for that kind of amount of water to come in like that too. So they're gonna have to redesign those subways in New York too. You know?
Oh, for sure. Like, have you heard the conspiracy theory about Sandy? Well, apparently, like there was a bunch of financial records got flooded out during Sandy.
Really?
In Wall Street, like I think they have like all of the like, I think it was, I want to say it was like stock records or stock transactions or something, where they store that stuff, and it just happened to get flooded out. And they were like, well, we don't have these records anymore. So I believe it was, records that were involved in some kind of like trial that was going on, much like in 9/11, right? When the building 7 went down,
right?
And there were what was it? The investigation into Enron. All the records for that were gone. So
everything was in Building 7 apparently. That
they're like, oops,
didn't get hit by a plane.
Right.
Just saying, didn't get hit by a plane. And like the SEC stuff in there too. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised because I mean, Lower Manhattan is basically one big ass landfill, and they know it. They know a lot of it's below the floodplain. So if you we moved all these records and stuff here to this place that we knew was going to get flooded. Oopsie sauce. We sure as hell didn't think about. Of course they thought about that. It's once again taking advantage of a natural disaster and getting some ill-gotten gains out of it. Fuckery is always afoot. So, we're close to the top of the hour here, my friend. I tell you, last time we were on, we were talking about, I think, mostly just music stuff, which I need to get you back on here and talk more about that stuff too, more music stuff, because who doesn't like to talk about music, right? I had this lady on, Angie Moon. She's doing this book about rock and roll and crime around it, right? So, Manson family and that kind of thing. So I like talking about music with people who are actual musicians, like yourself.
It's fun.
Yeah. You make it look fun. I try to play a guitar and it's like, boom, boom, and then I break a string and then I'm never invited to parties again because I keep breaking shit. All right, so I have this for you. We've been putting this up on the morning show. It's your GoFundMe. So all of Kevin's donation links are in the description down below. So if you can help our pal out, his GoFundMe is down there too. Obviously, if you can't donate, if you could share the links out, that would be most appreciated too. So. We gotta help our peeps out, man. The government ain't gonna help us, right? We have to help each other, right? Direct action, mutual aid, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, thank you for sharing that link out, kind of on the immediate, and a bunch of people were sharing it around. So like, it's pretty great, the community that we have out here, right? Like I don't know what you want to call it. The alternative news weirdos on the internet community, something.
It's an alternative media, I think so. Because we provide like different kind, information, but there's also entertainment. There's all kinds of stuff, that we're trying to reach the normies with, right?
Right. Yeah. And, and people really like snapped into action, like people were like, how can I help? And when you experience that kind of like, all out, just whatever you need kind of reaction, like, thank you everyone who's contributed so far. I think I lost my connection there a little bit.
No, you're all right. You're all right. You're fine. I scare my audience.
So many people have contributed already, and I thank you. And like, but you know, yeah, I'm trying to get back to doing like normal life stuff somehow. So
I think that's what
every little bit helps.
People forget that sometimes people forget that, you know, people who are doing stuff in the space, you know, doing content creating and stuff, they have their own lives that they're dealing with too, and they're dealing with sometimes they're dealing with tragic events like this, you know, and it's really hard to kind of put both of those hats on at the same time. But it's nice to know that the community is there, you know, to help out and support you in any way that they can. And that's what I appreciate being in this space for, is the people who actually care about one another. And, you know, when one of us takes a hit like that, we all rally the troops and, you know, get them back on their feet, you know, because, you know, that's what you're supposed to do, right? That's what, you know, cats like you and I grew up learning is, you know, you help people, you know, because the government's not going to do it. At least not this form of government. Once, if it ever changes, we ever have like some sort of real revolution, we might get some change. But until then, we kind of have to do everything on the local and kind of help each other out like that. So I have all your contact information and stuff down below in the thing too. There, is there anything else you want to tell people? Any other contact information or anything else you want to tell folks?
I mean, that, you know, the GoFundMe is great, and you know, I think everybody can find my link. You know, all my links are on my channel, and you know, any other donation links are there. But like the GoFundMe has been pretty great, and yeah, like you know, it is very apparent. Did the on the ground kind of community organizing, the power of it has never been more apparent than in the last week or two. You know, I've just been like amazed at how quickly people can rally and like organize and just like say like, no, we got you, we got this, and it's freaking great. It's
well, you're a solid cat, man. If you were some fucker, man, we'd be like, no, fuck that guy.
What an ass.
That piece of shit, fuck that guy. This asshole. This fucking piece of shit, this fuckface. No, but everybody loves you, man, because you do good work, man. I mean, you're a great musician, but they also, you know, your shows, Black Bear News, you know, you're putting out the 411 to people. Like you're doing the Lord's work, as they say, that the mainstream media will not do. And I think that's what a lot of us are trying to do, is like provide that information that, you know, we're trying to get the normies weaned off of their mainstream media crack, and hopefully get us, you know, get it onto our, I don't know a drug reference for that, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah. It ain't
easy. It ain't easy.
It is.
You know, because we get, you know, suppressed, and we get demonetized, and we get, you know, harassed, and like, I mean, so, you know, I spent a lot of time kind of feeling thankful for being too small for people to really like pay attention to, right? Like if I was any bigger, then I would start losing like my PayPal and start losing my Patreon, and you know, I can't imagine what, like, you know, people like Ryan Christian and other people, you know, Garland Nixon, like, you know, they get heat, you know, because the more visible you are, the more of a target you are. And so like, but it's kind of cool. It's like if everybody can kind of just, you know, do their thing in their pocket, in their sphere of influence, you know, you can create a network, you know, a hive mind, if you will, that just like kind of branches out, and everybody's kind of carrying the torch, and it makes it harder for them to crack down. So we're all doing it. We're all doing the work. So
we're trying, man. You know, it's difficult too, especially you know, when you get all this you know, like people you love that are caught up in these bubbles of propaganda, and you're trying desperately, kind of like, you know, you're trying to get Neo out of that little, you know, thing, get the tubes off of them and stuff, you know, and just show them the real world. And a lot of people, sometimes, you know, you get the sneaky ones that kind of like, you know, they're like, psst, hey, I heard what you're talking about. I'm down with it too. but I can't say nothing out loud,
Right.
because the people
Yeah.
around me, I got to work with these people, or I got to go to church with these people. But there's folks that they get it. They understand. It's just they also get where their situation is too. And it's like, I got all this mad knowledge, but I can't really do anything because nobody around me is going to listen. What do I do?
Yeah.
It's
Well, and
frustrating.
some people some people are in that thing where they kind of have to like tread lightly
Yeah.
on what they can say or they can talk about or whatever. And like, I definitely have a theory that like, so many people are watching me that don't admit that they're watching me. Right. They're super stealthy about it. Like they're checking out my show, but like they're never going to share my show. They're never going to admit that they're watching my shit, or whatever. Like,
Right. Yeah.
But every once in a while, I get a little message that's like, I'm watching, like I'm checking you out. Like, I'm like, okay.
The only message
I see you.
The only messages I get is some old guy talking about selling some Rick Simpson oil. I always get that one comment all the time. I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's some conversation. Maybe it's some dialogue on a show. No, it's a goddamn motherfucker who keeps selling the Rick Simpson oil. Will you leave me alone? Nobody's stop pimping. Anyway, but
it's Wayne Lopez. My wife died of cancer.
It's him. That's her boy, Wayne Lopez. God love him. But at least.
Sorry, Wayne, I'm sorry.
Sorry your wife went up. At least she went out great with the Rick Simpson oil. Oh my God. That is just the most random shit on Rockfin, man. And I don't get any other spam. It's just Wayne Lopez and the Rick Simpson oil. So I always give him a shout out to it. Look, anybody that puts a comment up there, I'm gonna give him a shout out, man.
I mean, hey, even the bots need a shout out too, right?
Some of the bots are okay. Some of them are cool. They just want to hang out. Sell some Rick Simpson oil and and just live life to their fullest. Who knows, right?
There's a new one on Rumble that's like, you're doing great work. Hey, I need some help with my crypto wallet. Here's my password. I was like, here's my secret key. Okay.
What? It's the new was it the Algerian prince or something? What was that through the emails?
This isn't spam at all. This isn't a phishing exercise at all. Okay.
Yeah, when I hear somebody say, "Hey, you're doing great," I go, "Obviously, you haven't watched my channel. You are telling a fib, sir or madam." Right, no. There is some fake news right there. So, all right. So we did the country goodbye. I said, "All right, well, I gotta go," and then you wait. You're talking for another 10 minutes, and then like, "All right, I really gotta go this time." So anyway,
sorry, my face is in the.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I get in there too. I like to scare the miscreants. I scare off some of the bots when I stick my face in there. But so anything, we got contact information down below. Anything else you want to tell the people before we get out of here?
Not really. My show's every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Pacific. So
Black Bear News. Very good.
And we'll talk about it. We'll talk about the things.
Okay. Sounds good. If you're not subscribed, you're on YouTube and Rockfin, right? Are you anywhere else?
Rumble
too? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm using their free studio.
Oh yeah, that's right. I see that little Rumble thing at the beginning there.
Yeah, because StreamYard doubled their prices, so I was like,
yeah, StreamYard's so good.
I may go back to StreamYard. I don't know.
And Restream, they're all about supporting Ukraine too. And I was like,
are they?
Yeah, they put the big flag on there and everything.
Oh God, no. Yeah, I gotta find something. I don't, I'm using the Rumble thing, but it's kind of limited. And I don't really like, I feel like Peter Thiel is getting ready to yank the rug out or something on people, and like I don't know, I just don't want to really support it.
Well, you know how it is. If it's too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. So it's like write it out for as long as you have fun with it, and then once it goes tits up, then you move on to the next thing. I guess that's how we're built now. We don't fix things anymore. We just go on to the next thing.
And I want to reconfigure my whole I want to find some better platforms. This is my quest in the new year, is to find, some, I don't know, just some less beholden platforms, beholden to the man, get off
You would think more of those would pop up too now, because it seems like more and more people are doing live streaming, not just political and stuff like that, but even there's sports, there's like churches are doing. I mean, everybody's doing that. You would think that like the technology would evolve a little bit more to where it's a little bit more where you can,
well, it's definitely a thing that I feel like it's a niche that people want to explore. So you would think there would be more of those, but like, I kind of want to, I'd like to build a network that's kind of outside of, the usuals,
right?
Not Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, right? Rockfin is still pretty cool,
Well, let me ask you this: Have you messed with that Red Note yet?
Oh, I downloaded it. I downloaded it just to see, but like I instantly deleted it, and I never signed up for an account. Just because I was like, oh, this is the biggest honeypot ever, right? Like
it is.
They're about to ban TikTok, and this wave kind of comes out on Twitter, like everybody's going to Red Note, and I was like, I don't trust this whole movement right now. Like I just don't trust anything about it, and like so just out of pure paranoia, I deleted it. And
I don't blame you. It's an interesting social experiment to me right now. Sure. That's the way I'm looking at it. I'm with you. Like I say, my motto is fuckery's always afoot, and especially in those apps. It doesn't matter if it's a U.S. app or Chinese app or whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, I think the dialogue between people that would get on there and had no idea what Chinese people were like, and we're just talking to regular ass Chinese people, no propaganda wall, none of that shit. They're just talking about food and whatever, and it was just like, Bubba's like, I didn't know Chinese people was like that. Well, yeah, because you've been listening to all this fucking propaganda your whole life. You didn't actually meet any actual Chinese people, did you? No. Well, now you have. What do you think? I'll think differently now. See, that's how shit works. Get to know the people. Yeah.
Isn't that just like anywhere on the internet before censorship was the thing, right? Like it, like, I don't know, 15 years ago or whatever, there was like, YouTube and every other site, people were just freely like, sharing information about who the fuck was in control, and like, and everybody's like, oh, I see. I'm getting, people were getting woke, right? And woke to the game. And then they were like, no, we can't, people started realizing like, oh, I see who the real enemy is. Uh-huh. And it isn't Bubba, and it isn't, Fran, the blue-haired librarian. It's it's the man, right? So like they want to keep people divided and at each other. Now everybody's like, since Trump got inaugurated, the whole like lefty, I don't know, freak out is like reanimating. And so like, on my Facebook and Instagram, everybody's like, I'm out of here because these guys are all fascists, and I'll see you on Blue Sky. And I was like, like, okay. Great. I don't know. It's just like, pick your, I want them to be shut up. No, I want them to be shut up. And each side is like, shut them up. And it's like, dude, the red note thing is like, what it's supposed to be, which is like, oh, I see, namaste or whatever. Like I recognize the regular person in you, and you recognize we all share the same hopes and dreams. Like, we do more of that. I don't know.
It's nice to get access to people like that without the filters, though. I mean, at least only even if it only lasts for a short time, because nothing like that is going to be allowed to last forever, right? They're not going to let you have that camaraderie with people across. They, especially when they're trying to keep you divided, they're not going to let you have facts.
No, hell no. And that's
people.
probably why they were like, get that TikTok on back, like get that back here so that we can.
Yeah, at least we could
regulate people's perception.
Exactly. At least we were able to control some of it. That red note, they couldn't control any of it, and they were like, "Ooh, well, here comes TikTok. Yeah, you guys like that TikTok, right? Here's TikTok back." Yeah, so
TikTok is awesome.
Yeah, I know, right? We hate the guy who was trying to ban TikTok this whole time. Now he's the one who's going to save it. It's just so fucking ridiculous. So.
Right.
All right. Well, let's get out of here. You're going to be on tomorrow, you said? Was it 2 o'clock Eastern? So was it 1?
It's 12 o'clock Pacific.
12 o'clock.
So 3 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah. Ever since I moved out of the Eastern time zone, I'm back in the Central.
You're in Central, right?
I'm in Central. And the times are all fucked up. I'm fucking over people on times left and right, man. I was like, yeah, let's meet up at, why don't you log in at like 4? And that's like, no, it's supposed to be 5. I'm like, damn you, Time Lords.
Man, it's confusing.
I know, right? Back in my day, we didn't have clocks. We just looked at the sun, and if it burned our eyes out, we knew it was noon. Yeah, so...
We didn't have time zones. It was the same time. Wherever you were at, that's what time it was.
It was always 4:20, wherever you were. And you better have a joint with you, because, that ain't cool if you ain't holding, man. All right, so...
It was beer 30 and 4:20. All right.
Beer, that's it. That's your clock. It is 4:20 and beer 30, and it's just there are no any numbers. It's just a beer can, and then you're supposed to figure the shit out yourself. So, Kevin, if you can hang out a second, I'll say goodbye to you proper. But I appreciate you coming on. Let me say goodbye to everybody here. Appreciate everybody coming out on YouTube and Rockfin and Rumble. I don't know what's going on with Facebook. It won't let me go live on there for some reason. I think they figured out my schemes. So anyway, I know, right? Those fuckers, man. It's probably old people. It's probably boomers. Let's blame them.
As soon as Zuckerberg says, like, we're going to be about free speech, that means we're going to be cutting you off.
That's a wrap, folks.
It's always the opposite, right?
It is. It always is. So once again, if you can, hook a brother up. Kevin's GoFundMe down below. All his donation to links are down there, not just GoFundMe, and donation and information stuff's down there. We appreciate you, brother, and we appreciate all y'all watching this. Have a great evening. And I will be back, hopefully, on Friday morning. I had a bit of a sinus issue this morning. It was I didn't really get much sleep, so I didn't think I wasn't really prepared for the show this morning. And I didn't want to, I wanted to be ready for my boy Kevin to come on, and everything worked out aces. And that's all we can hope for at this point. So take it easy, guys. We'll see you when we see you. Have a good night. Stay out of the cults. Use your critical thinking skills. You got them. Peace.
1, 2, 3, 4.